I guess one question we should maybe both answer, or maybe people are curious, like why medicine? Why'd you go into medicine?
Man, actually, I always wanted to be a doctor growing up. Now, did I want to be an ER doctor? Not necessarily. I wanted to be a pediatrician, got to med school, looked at some different things. I was an athlete, so I thought about doing some sports medicine, some even OBGYN. And then once you get to like ER, you kind of realize that, man, ER, you get to see every little thing. So from a young age, I think I wrote a paper like in third grade, what do you want to be? And I said I want to be a doctor. So it's always been something on my mind that I always want to be a doctor, interested in medicine and stuff like that. And so it's kind of why I chose medicine. It's crazy that I started maybe like in third grade thinking about it, and I came all the way here to do it.
Yeah.
But what about yourself?
For me, I'm like a very technical person. Like I like to understand things, and so I would say like initially when I was younger, it always seemed like engineering, right? But you realize in high school biology and then even like your first few years of college that like engineering, yeah, there's still massive problems in the engineering world, but we kind of understand the basics of it, right? Like maybe you talk about galaxies and stuff, there's still a lot to be learned, but when it comes to like engineering on Earth and, building things, like there's a way to do it and there's not a lot of unknowns. Whereas medicine, there's so many unknowns. Like we probably know less about the things in medicine than we do, which to me was just amusing. And so I selfishly just was curious about like, hey, why do I sleep? Why do I wake up? Why? And so that's kind of what that interest started with. And then like you kind of said, in emergency medicine, I'm like, like I mentioned, I do this media thing. I do podcasts. I, love policy. I have all these interests. And same with emergency medicine. Like I don't want to focus on one thing. I want to like be interested in everything and, talk to a cardiologist, talk to a neurologist, learn about what the new protocols are for this thing or that thing. And it's just cool being able to do that and talk about all those things. And, on some level, knowing a little bit about every system of the body. And so that's what kind of drew me to it. Now, working overnights maybe isn't the most fun part, but there are a lot of pros to, you can be in any conversation, any setting, and someone will bring up some healthcare topic and you can talk about it to some degree. And then if you want to know more about it, you could research and learn more about it through CME and things of that nature. But on a basic level, like we can have a conversation about most topics in healthcare, which I think is very unique.
Yeah, the interesting something you said is that like medicine still like a lot of untapped things we're still trying to learn, and I think people don't understand that, man. Like it's the practice of medicine. We're still practicing, learning things, still finding out new things, new treatments every day, and I think a lot of patients people in general don't understand like, hey, medicine's here, but we don't have everything figured out, but we're figuring it out. We're getting there, and we're working with what we have to make the best decisions that we can make for you and your care.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of times we don't know the answer to things. And I think that's something we need to normalize more, whether it's in the hospital or even when we're talking to like the public, that we don't know the answers to everything, and that's okay. And we're going to try to find them. And there's lots of research being done to find answers. But a lot of times saying I don't know is like the right answer.
Yeah, it's about how you phrase it too. I mean, I have a lot of patients that come in and say, hey, I'm not saying that there's wrong with you, but we ruled out these things, which are the most important things. Now the next step is maybe getting you some more testing and other specialists, and then we're going to hopefully try to figure something out for you, though. So it's kind of how you phrase it to patients and how they respond to it.